8radio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson. You're watching the 5 Off 5 On Racing Show. Welcome to a fun-filled evening of race talk. Stuff going on around the racing community. Southern Modifieds wrapped up their season, and the Whelen Modified Tour up here up north will be wrapping it up this weekend at the World Series at the Thompson Motorsports Park in Thompson, Connecticut. And the Sprint Cup stuff is going on with the Chase. That's should be interesting. They got despite the weather, getting rained out Saturday, they ran Sunday, so that's all good. And I believe this Saturday I'll be headed to Mahoning Valley, see some good racing, and get to hook up with Video Mike. Thanks, Mike. It's one of my favorite shirts. And it's, you'll see that if you go into the archives, I wear this shirt a lot. Actually, I don't wear this shirt a lot. I have a bunch of different black shirts. It's like if you remember the Adams family, Gomez Adams always wore the same suit. But it was his favorite suit, but he bought 150 of them. Look it up if you don't believe me. But anyway, let's see. Tony Stewart had officially announced his retirement after the 2016 season from the Sprint Cup Series. And he was very quick to say the Sprint Cup Series. So that leaves the door open. He could go into the Xfinity, he could run a truck, he could do sprint cars. Possibly this would free him up to do some modified racing at Bristol or New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Because it was a few years back, and I'm trying to think when exactly it was. He was still, I forget who he was driving for at the time. It might have been Gibbs, I'm not positive, so don't hold me to, but he was all set to go to New Smyrna. The car was there, ready to go. The name on the roof said Tony Stewart, and then he was told no. He was not permitted to drive that open-wheel car. So I guess when he started Stewart Haas racing, that kind of changed because he kind of did whatever he wanted because he was the boss. But don't be surprised to see him in something else in 2017. Speaking of 2017, his replacement for that will be Clint Boyer, who's basically received his release from Michael Waltrip Racing, but Michael Waltrip Racing folding up after this season. So that should be interesting. 2016 into 2017, it's hard to believe we're already talking 2017, and we haven't finished 2015, and 2016 hasn't even begun. But it looks like that's what's going to be going on in Stewart Haas Racing, as Tony will step down and take a more active role in the running of his race team. And think about that. And here you are, you own the race team, and you're racing in it, you're one of the drivers, and you got to think about this. Now, let's say he's not performing. Does he fire himself? Does he say to himself, listen, you're not producing? He looks in the mirror, you're not producing, Tony, it's time maybe you do something else. It's got to be difficult. Like with Michael Waltrip Racing, he basically only ran the restrictor plate races and that stuff, but he knew that the parade passed them by. It was time to just sit back and let some people go. But unfortunately, Michael Waltrip Racing, they had some really good years, and all of a sudden they just floundered. And what causes that? What causes a solid competitive race team to go from here to here like that? And a lot happens, and a lot has to do with focus. A lot has to do with money. I know Bobby Kaufman. He was the money behind Michael Waltrip Racing. He saved Michael Waltrip Racing once before, and he came in as you know, he was just going to be the money guy. And all of a sudden, he started having to say, now let me tell you something. If I'm putting up 10, 15, 20 million dollars, I'm going to have a set. And with Kaufman going over to Chip Ganassi, I think he's going to have a say. He's going to have the say that he wants to have. So anyway, it'll be interesting. And Video Mike is saying, you know, him and Kenny Wallace, Tony Stewart and Kenny Wallace, to work together in the UMP modified. I see that happen. I see things like that happen because Tony Stewart is a competitive guy. He wants to go racing. He has really nothing left to prove. He has 3 championships. I believe he has like 48 wins in his career in the Sprint Cup Series level. And that's nothing to sneeze about. You know, and guys like, you know, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, those guys, if they would have raced in the 60s and the 70s where they were racing 50, 55, 60 events a year, their win totals would have been up there too in the hundreds. You know, we have, you know, Richard Petty, of course, with the 200, David Pearson with the 105. But they were racing 60 times a year. They were racing sometimes 2 times a week. Just they get in the hall and go to the next one. But then when, you know, Winston Cup came into the existence in the 70s and they streamlined the schedule and then, you know, the Nextel Cup and the Sprint Cup, you know, all of a sudden, you're only racing 36 races. Only. You know, as they say, as Matt Kenseth said to me at New Hampshire, he says, when I asked him about the off-season, he said, the off-season, there really isn't one. But it's different than the off-season from years gone by because, you know, Daytona wasn't the first race. They started sometimes in Riverside, California. They raced other places and ended up in Daytona because if you took a map, they headed out to the West Coast and they worked their way back to Daytona. Then they worked their way up the coast, up the East Coast. And then what they would do from there is then head across into Michigan and go Midwest, and it was just one big circle. But back then, they weren't flying back and forth. They hooked it up, and they went. And yeah, you know, 22 figure 8, it was clean and green, man. It's a holiday here on Long Island. So the Oakdale merge was clean and green. It's just one of those things, you know. I had to get delayed in makeup. I was in wardrobe. It took a little longer than it should have. Things happened, but anyway. What do we got? Hey, I saw on the social media at the Thompson Motorsports Park this weekend for the World Series. Thompson, the annual World Series, will have the NASCAR's Air Titan track dryer there. Now, I'll tell you what. I was in the R&D Center a few years back, and they were just making it for the first time. They were making one. And when they explained to me how it works, basically it's just blowing air. It's very efficient. And it blows the water. It blows the water off the racetrack. Whereas the jet dryer is very expensive. Think about jet fuel, what it costs to run jet dryers for hours and hours, you know, trying to keep a track dry. So the Air Titan will be at the Thompson Motorsports Park for the annual World Series. And we'll talk about the World Series a bit later. It's going to be a fun-filled race here. It's going to be fun-filled races. The points battle there is tight, as it was in the Whelen Southern Modified Tour, so that'll be good too. Other than that, a lot going on. When we come back, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about social media and how it's, in my opinion, affecting the local racetrack here and moving forward for them for 2016 when we come back.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from InRavio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Yes, it's always fun to watch what's going on in the chat room during commercial. You guys crack me up. Video Mike, I'm not driving when I go to Mahone Valley, just so you guys know. This is what happens. My driver picks me up, and because I do have a driver, and I just sit back and sleep. Just ask him. I don't think we get to the first traffic light, and I'm asleep. So it's all up to my driver. My driver says we're leaving. We're leaving at 8 a.m. So anyway, social media. I'll tell you what. I utilize social media. I go on and post stuff and say stuff and read stuff. But the last few weeks, and I got to say this, in the last few weeks, I'm reading a lot of stuff about the local racetrack here on Long Island, Riverhead Raceway, and its new owners, Eddie and Connie Partridge, who I wish only the best moving forward. It's good to see some new blood, and with his nephew, Tom Gatz, kind of running the operations, and with John Edwards staying on with the facility manager job. You got a lot of people that go into the social media who are saying they should do this, and they should do that, and they should do the other thing, and they should do this, and they shouldn't do this, and they might should try to do this, and why do this, and what happens is somebody who could be in the know puts a post in social media. Post would be something that's, and I'll make it some ridiculous thing. The post would be that they got to go to wooden tires to go racing. The next thing you know, people start getting on, and how could they do that? Why would they? Like what this guy or gal said was gospel. Now, you know what you need to do is you need to stop that nonsense. And I go on and I'm looking at this, and there's like 75 posts on a ridiculous statement. And I've always been one, go to the source. Don't go on and do that. Don't go on and say something stupid, because some of them, it's beyond the fence grabbers. It's beyond the fence grabbers. It's people who don't even go to the racetrack. And I was looking at one guy's post, and he's going on and on and on about what they should do and what they can't do and what they should never do and what they had better do and on and on and on. And you say to the guy, you go there last year? Have you raced? When's the last time you raced there? I haven't raced there in 5 years. Then how can you tell a guy who owns the place, who just bought it, what they should do when you haven't been there in 5 years? I mean, that just annoys me. Look, we're all entitled to opinion, but take your opinion based on fact. So if you know something for a fact, all right, fine. And if you're in a position to speak that fact, if it wasn't one of those, listen, between you and me, But there's a lot of people that go on and post stuff that's just crazy. And, and I understand that, from what I understand, is the rules came out for that facility, for Riverhead Raceway, today, if I'm not mistaken. And the rules came out. And there's some things in there that need to be, taken a look at and addressed. And there's some, I didn't go through the rules, but there's things in there that, and let's back up a step. Eddie and Connie Partridge own the place. They have people in key positions doing important things for them. It's their sandbox. It's their sand. And if you want to take your toys into their sandbox, then you got to do it their way. To sit there and bash already, the off season barely started, to go and bash a facility. And this doesn't just happen at the local place here on Long Island. This happens all over the country. And we talked about a promoter here last year who shut his track down because he couldn't even go to church with his family on Sunday because of problems with competitors or fans of the competitors. And you know what? This is what's going to happen. This whole setup, where it should be a good thing, is becoming a negative thing because the negative people are overpowering the power of positive people. And that's what happens. And now you have people post based on a rumor that they're selling their car, and then somebody, why are you selling your car? Well, because they're not going to race those type of cars. And then, oh, I'm selling my car. And now all of a sudden, instead of the car counts growing based on new ownership, you're dwindling. And I could tell you for a fact, Eddie Partridge monitors social media. It's very important to him to see what's going on, see what who's the rebel rouser, who really cares, who is just trying to cause nonsense, to stir the dirt up a little bit. You can't do that. I spoke to a former competitor about, hey, you're going to go back and race Long Island? And his answer to me was, I'm going to sit back and wait and see what happens. Now, that's fine. If you want to have a $30,000, $40,000 race car sitting on jack stands, as one point guy says, oh, looks like I'll be racing in the jack stand 500. That kind of negativity is not needed. And I'm not here to stand on a soapbox and say you shouldn't have an opinion. You should have an opinion. But your opinion should be based on fact. And the fact of the matter is, there's new ownership at this racetrack, and they're not going to do some of the things that were done in the past. They're going to do things their way. Very successful business people. They know what they're doing. And they've been in the racing business for a long, long time. And they got to try. They got to do something different. And they're trying to do that, but there's a lot of pushback from people because, let's face it, a lot of race car drivers and a lot of people involved at racing don't like change because they get stuck in that paradigm. Oh, we do it that way because we always did it that way. And that's not the way to grow a business. They bought this racetrack to make money. They bought this racetrack to keep racing on Long Island. And you know what? People need to work with them. If there's something that you have a feeling or a gut feeling or it's wrenching at you like, you pick up the phone, you call the man, and you have a conversation. And you get to the facts. You go to the source. Hey, I heard of, somebody was telling me I was at the local bar and they told me this is what's going to happen. Don't put it on social media because that's a guy that's just doing his thing. He's just trying to look good or trying to look like the hero or the villain or however you want to look at it. So basically what I'm saying is this. We have a new ownership here on the Long Island racetrack that was rich in history. I believe the place first started racing in 1952. So that's 65 years ago, whatever it was. Maybe before that, where they started stock car racing. It was midget racing in the 40s, if I'm not mistaken, when they carved out this track in the middle of a farm. Work with them. Don't be so negative. That's all I'm asking, folks. Some people say, oh, it's constructive criticism. How could you have constructive criticism for something that hasn't even happened yet? It hasn't happened. So anyway, I understand I have a phone call. Who do we have on the phone? Hey, it's Joe. Welcome to the 505 on Racing Show.
Hi, Joe. This is Dino.
Dino, how you doing?
Good, man. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you're okay. Dino, for the fans out there, tell us where you're from.
Hazleton, Pennsylvania.
Hey, you're part of, I believe you're part of the promoting and announcing at the speedway there in Mahoning Valley?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I take care of the announcing and all of the public relations and anything else I can get my hands on down there. I like to go in knee deep, and we just have a blast with everything we do there.
Now tell me, you got a big weekend coming up. What's going on this weekend there?
Well, it's our fourth annual Oktoberfest, and it's Oktoberfest 2015, and really, really stepping things up this year. For the first time ever, there's going to be a modified race paying $6,000 to win. That's a record payout for the modifieds at Mahoning Valley Speedway, and there's also a record number of laps that are going to be run for it. 150 laps, $6,000 to win, 22 cars to start, $300 to take the green. This is going to be a big one.
Wow, that's better than some of the Whelen Modified Tour events that we have up here in the Northeast with that kind of a payoff.
Yeah, you know what, and that's absolutely right. And it's not just this particular race, but a lot of our big shows pay a minimum of $3,000. 2 weeks ago, we just had a 100-lap race. It was our final race of the year, the Bob Heavy Shear Memorial, that was won by Austin Koshnosh. And he took home over $3,500, close to $4,000, as a matter of fact, because there was lap money involved. Mm-hmm. Earlier this year, Donnie Wagner won a 125-lap season opening race. That paid $5,000 to win. Throughout the year, we've had a bunch of these races. This year, they're sponsored by Central States. It's part of the Central States Modified Gambler Series. Not only do they pay the big money for each one of those respective events, but at the end of this Central States Modified Gambler Series, there's $2,000 that goes to the highest card holder, as well as money that gets divvied out through the rest of the card holders that we have and we pay cash to. So it's a big thing for us. It's great for our local guys, but we love to see these outsiders come in from the Tour, from the NASCAR Tour, from the ROC Tour, from the New York and New Jersey tracks, and it just really brings it all together to just see such great modified talent competing there at Mahoning Valley on that tight little quarter mile.
Now, how many confirmed guys that, some of the names maybe you could throw out there that confirmed that are coming?
Right now, I could tell you that we're expecting the Zacharias brothers, TJ and Jimmy, will be coming our way. Anthony Cecily is confirmed. He is going to be there. Recently crowned ROC champion Matt Hirschman never misses out on one of these. This is basically his home track, his backyard. Mm-hmm. And likewise with Zane Ziner. And those two boys have won the three previous Oktoberfest races, so they will be on hand here. Brian DeFebo will be here. He is he is the winningest driver in Eastern Pennsylvania short track pavement racing with over 80 career wins. So we expect a lot of these guys. Last year we've seen a lot of the Wall Stadium racers come down. A couple of guys from the Connecticut area usually show up. So it's going to be a pretty decent showing. And right now the numbers are really starting to come together. Aside from the regulars, and that's the thing and the beauty about Mahoning Valley. These outsiders come, but they know they got to come down and they got to beat the regulars that compete there every week. So it's no cakewalk, even if they have a top-notch team, which they all are, but they got to beat our guys in order to get that cash.
Absolutely. I had the opportunity for the first time in 2013. I took a trip with friends down from myracenews.com and had an awesome time watching the race. It was one of the first races that I got to sit and watch as a fan in over 20 years, and I had a real good time. The facility was great. The people were great. It was all in all nice day. It was cold, but it was you could dress for the cold. It was a good time.
Yeah, it might be a little chilly this week. There's nothing we can do about that. It's this time of the year. We're looking at the forecast. We're keeping our eyes on it. We know what's coming out there, and the fans do too. Mm-hmm. But Mahoning Valley Speedway is pure passion with their fans and the drivers and the teams. And Joe, from being there then, that there's not a bad seat in the house, and it's pure in-your-face racing. And I think you could attest to the fact that you probably never seen 2x2 racing like you did when you were there.
That was one of the comments I made, before I fell asleep driving home. I said, they're racing too wide here. Racing too wide. They're not just passing. They're racing side by side. Eric Beers, the show that he puts on when he races there, it was incredible, incredible.
I'm glad you touched on Eric, too, because in the three previous Oktoberfest races, he has finished in third place in each one of those. The last two, he led the most amount of laps. but he just came up short. The car had problems and handling problems near the end, and I guarantee you he is coming in there loaded for bear right now. Of all the extra distance races that we have run, basically in the 100-plus lap distance over the years, we began it in 1995, but we've been running it steadily every year since 2005 with these types of shows. Between Eric Beers and Matt Hirschman, they have won 11 each. Wow. So obviously they know what to do with these things, but there's just so many other guys that are going to be here ready to take a stab at this thing. Like I said, Brian DeFebo will be coming down for this one here. Bobby Jones will be in this field. He's very good at these types of races. Donnie Wagner, he was a top point contender this year. So, again, Zane Ziner will be there, no doubt about that. And I would expect him to also bring a late model, so we may see him doing some double duty. And, again, it's just going to be a pretty good show. Roger Koss, who ran the ROC Tour and was one of the top rookies this year, came back last week to tune his car up. So the Lafayette, New Jersey driver, he'll be on hand as well.
Now, Dino, in addition to the modifieds, I know there's other racing going on. Tell our folks out there listening and watching, what else you got going on that day?
Well, we are showcasing basically our three premier divisions. The modifieds, as you know, as we said, 150 laps, $6,000 to win. But we also are rounding off the show, and it's complementing very nice with these two classes, the late models and the street stocks. They're each going to be racing for $1,500 to win. They're each going to get $125 to take the green. We'll start 22 cars in each race. The late models are going to go for 60 laps, the street stocks for 75. The late models have been a benchmark division at Mahoney Valley Speedway since day one, and the street stocks have been there for the past 20 years. And in the last, I'd say, 10 years or so, I'm very proud of this with these guys. I don't think there is a support division that could match up to our guys, and I might be a little biased about that, but when you see it, you will understand what I'm saying. You think too wide is cool with the modifieds, and it is, but these guys will do it for an entire run of 75 laps. And the competition is just unbelievable with the street stock division at Mahoney Valley Speedway. We have had 18 different winners this year, and oddly enough, that's not even a track record. The track record was set 2 years ago with 20 different winners, and we still could set that because we got two more races to go, this one and another one on October the 24th. But it's just incredible competition, and it is so equally matched throughout the field. So that should be an amazing event. And the late model guys, they just put on a terrific show. Some of the top guns out there. We just saw Paul Kohler Jr. become the all-time winningest late model champion at Mahoney Valley Speedway, his fourth career championship. Mike Sweeney actually had title numbers that he put up. He had 9 wins this year, but still fell short to Sweeney. Jeremy Miller's been looking good. Travis Fisher is back in the fold. He's been doing some traveling throughout the state, and he is going to be a part of that one. And there should be a great field for the late models, and I assure you that's going to be a terrific show as well.
Now, you know, I understand that the Santee family is very involved with the facility. How they helped you out there?
They have, for me personally, it's been a great group to work with. They go above and beyond, and for what they do for the drivers, for what they do with the racetrack. And sometimes it's not easy. I think any promoter will tell you that. You know, to please short track racers, that's a pretty tall order, because sometimes I think short track racers, we're our own worst enemy. But you know, and we deal with it too. We have a very interesting group of fans and drivers that go back a long way. There's a lot of generations that race there. The Santees are a part of that generation. It actually stems all the way back to the former Dorney Park Speedway. And that whole crowd, that whole type of people and racers are with us today. And Floyd Santee, who is basically the frontman of the whole deal, he's not afraid to reach into his pockets and do what has to get done in order to make things happen. He has increased the purses on all these divisions since he got into this track in 2012, and he really hasn't stopped. This year he bumped up a lot of things again. There you could see with the modifieds paying the kind of money he does. We have one of the highest weekly modified purses in the business for asphalt modifieds throughout the Northeast region, something we're very proud of. And for me personally, it's been just a joy to be able to work for these guys and to do the things that I get to do as a PR guy and an announcer to get the word out there. And it makes you proud when you see not only our local fans that show up, but when a lot of guys like yourselves and people from throughout the outside of the immediate area come down and they have compliments for us. So it makes you realize, hey, you did something right, you did your job right, but it's a team effort. Tim Santee, our race director, does a terrific job. He's got a handful to deal with every week, but he really does a top-notch job of making sure the show gets through every week.
Well, you said something earlier, it's a team effort. And, your team is only as good as your weakest guy. And, it seems like anytime I've gone to your facility, anytime I've seen events there or talked to people that go there regularly, I've never heard a bad thing said about, Mahoning Valley.
We listen, we're not blind to some of the things that happen. We make mistakes, and we have to face up to those mistakes at times. Social media kind of gets to us sometimes. People get a little crazy out there posting things on Twitter, on Facebook. But we try to meet up with them and try to correct the situation as fast as possible and put it to a rest as quickly as we can. Because, again, our whole focus is we want to get out there and we want to present a good product. And our product speaks for itself when you see what's on that track. And, again, we have these fans that are just so passionate. I say that no matter, even if you're cheering, but even if you're booing, that's all passion. That is all passion. And we've got that. And it's our responsibility to put on a good show for these people, for these fans, and to show these drivers that we are behind them. And, that's our responsibility as promoters, as PR people, and just as staff members of Mahoning Valley Speedway in order to keep us at the forefront, because it's sometimes not easy to continue to do this. I applaud all the promoters and the things they do in order to keep short track racing at the forefront, but we just try to work as a team, and as a team, it gets done.
Now, some of the guys and gals in the chat room, they're asking, why hasn't Mahoning Valley raced under the NASCAR banner? Maybe you could explain the differences and what you gain and what you don't gain as to why Mahoning Valley has decided to stay an independent racetrack.
It's not for lack of trying. It's not for the lack that NASCAR has not contacted us or we have not contacted them. Our base of drivers are right there. They really don't do that type of traveling, and we understand that one of the things with NASCAR is the insurance and what they have to pay for fees and stuff to be a part of NASCAR. And so we watch out for our drivers in that regard. And by doing that, we're able to take some of the money that maybe we would have been also putting towards NASCAR, and then we could turn around and put it right back into their pockets.
Right.
And it's kind of a funny thing. That's the same reason when Doug Hoffman was promoting there, and we were regulars with the ROC Tour, and they made stops there on a regular basis.
Right.
However, with the fees that were involved with that as well, Doug actually came up with the concept of instead of paying out that money to them, and we saw what kind of drivers were coming there. It was mostly our own drivers. That I'll turn around, I'll take that same money and put it right back into our own purse, and then this way our guys go home with a couple of extra bucks in their pocket. And basically that's the reason behind that. But the door of communication has always been open. We are always willing to talk with these groups, ROC, NASCAR, and obviously anything can be negotiated and see what happens.
Right, and a lot of people don't understand that you're racing under the NASCAR. There's a percentage of the total purse paid that goes to NASCAR, a big chunk of the money, and that's got to come from somewhere. And a lot of people don't understand that it's very costly to run under the NASCAR banner. Yeah, there's some advantages to having that, like insurance-wise. But you have let's say a $10,000 purse, and you got to give 5% of that to NASCAR. That's a lot of money at the end of the year when you add it all up.
It is a lot of money, and again, that's one of the main reasons I can honestly say why we shy from that, doing that, because we can keep the money in-house, and we can do things better with it in-house to our own guys because it's such a strong local base. And it's not that we wouldn't want to get the tour in there, but to pay that kind of a purse right now, it's just not in the cards for us to come up with that. And again, that's something that reflects back to not only the back gate, but the front gate as well, because now we have to adjust the amount of money we charge for coming into the grandstands as well as in the back gate. And another thing with the NASCAR deal coming in is that you would only see basically the NASCAR tour guys, which is a good thing. I mean, I've seen them; they're great, and do some dealings with them through the Eastern Motorsport Press Association that I'm affiliated with. But it would not, you'd not be able to see any of our local guys be able to run with them because of the licensing that also goes along with that to compete with NASCAR.
Exactly. I know, Dino, before we wrap up, at my pre-production meeting before the show, they told me that Earl was going to be calling in. So I'm getting some stuff in the chat room that they call you Earl. What's with that? Okay,
I think I know where that's coming from a guy from New Jersey, I'm assuming.
I'm thinking maybe.
I get pretty excited when I'm announcing, and one night, Len Salmons from Area Auto Racing News was there, and I'm good friends with Earl Kraus of Area Auto Racing News. I co-announced with him at Pocono Raceway for the NASCAR and IndyCar weekends, and we also work together on the board of directors with EMPA. And for some reason, I was standing next to Len Salmons, and Earl Paulus was on the racetrack, but in my mind, I just blurted out, "Here comes Earl Kraus," and that's the whole thing behind that. So instead of Earl Paulus, I was saying, "Look at Earl Kraus go," and we all had a good laugh with that. Earl Kraus knows about it, Earl Paulus knows about it, and anybody else named Earl pretty much knows about it. So
and now
that's the
7.2
whole
billion
deal
people
behind that.
around the world know about it because we
Correct.
have it out here.
Correct.
I want to thank you for your time.
Tell Mike
know
I
you're a
said
busy
thank
guy.
you for that.
And I'm looking forward to meeting up with you when I arrive there Saturday. I know you guys gave me a nice intro the last time I was there and plugged our show, and I appreciate that. So I'm looking forward to coming back this Saturday.
Yep, and dress accordingly. We're in Northeast PA here, no different than from where you guys are, and it's this time of the year. It's been beautiful. No wind, no nothing right now, but we know when the sun goes down, it's going to get a little chilly, but I think once the racing is on the track, that's the beauty of Mahoning Valley Speedway. Things heat up, and you just get that excitement in you. So we plan to do a lot of that and keep everybody nice and warm with the hot action that we have coming.
And it is hot action. I can attest to that myself.
So
thank you for
racing,
everything.
By the way, racing starts at 4 o'clock this Saturday with heats. The drivers will be drawing for heat starting spots, and likewise for the features. We're going to start 22 cars in each division, and I think the fans, if anybody are coming down from your neck of the woods, I guarantee you, you won't be disappointed with, as we call it, the product.
Excellent. Dino, thank you so much.
Can't thank you enough, and really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show here, and hopefully we can do it again sometime real soon.
Absolutely.
All right. See you Saturday.
You got it. Thanks, Dino. With that,
Bye.
folks, we're going to take a break, and we come back, we'll go over what went on this weekend in Charlotte and with the modifieds, the Xfinity and the Sprint Cup Series, as well as what's going on with the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour up in Thompson Motorsports Park when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Enravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Village Music Shop of Master. 1-800-HEY DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Russ Weller. We're some of the Proto Men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from InRavio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, welcome back. I want to thank Dino for taking the time to talk to us. And if you want to go watch some good racing this weekend, Mahoning Valley is the place to go. Anyway, before we get into what happened at Charlotte, Concord Motorsports Park will be on November 6th and 7th. We'll be having the 13th annual John Blewett III Memorial North-South Shootout. The Concord Motorsports Park. It's moving back there after it spent a couple of seasons down at Caraway. I've never been to the Concord Motorsports Park. We might try to make that one. It should be a good show. And, you know, it's the North-South Shootout. It's I'll tell you what. I've been to it. I've worked it. Talk about passion, as we were talking about in the last segment, the passion that goes on, and with this North-South Shootout. It's not so much as it's built up to be the North against the South, because it's racers against racers. So if you're not doing anything that weekend and you want to take a little trip, that's the place to be. But anyway, what do we got here? The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour will be at the Thompson Motorsports Park this weekend for the annual World Series, as they call it. There's, I think, 15 divisions of race cars going to be racing at the Thompson Motorsports Park. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, we're wrapping up its season at the Motorsports Park up in Connecticut. And right now, I'll tell you what, there's a three-way battle for the championship there, with Doug Colby and Ryan Preece sitting atop the points, tied at 565 points apiece there, with Woody Pitkat only 4 points back. In fourth place, you got Todd Zegedy. He's 66 points back. So basically, the other guys would need to stay home, and Todd would need to win. And I'm not even sure that's enough, and it's not, even with bonus points. What do we have here? Patrick Emmerling, he's in fifth place, 89 back. We got Timmy Salamino, he's 90 back in sixth. Eric Goodale, he's also 90 back in seventh. We got Donnie Lee at eighth, 109 back. Chase Dowling, ninth in points, 119 points back. And then we have Bobby Santos rounding out the top 10. Chase Dowling has wrapped up the Rookie of the Year honors, finishing 57. Right now, he's 57 points away from his nearest rookie competitor, Max Zeckham. So I'll tell you what, that's going to be some race to see. And you know, just watching Doug Colby and Ryan Preece, two hard-charging individuals. And, you know, Woody Pitkat could be just sitting back, watching it all unfold, and kind of muscle his way into a championship there, too. It would be good to see the Buzz Chu guys winning that championship as well. I'm not rooting for any one guy. I know each of them. Doug Colby very well. Ryan Preece, I remember him when he first came into the Modified Tour, losing his first win with a NASCAR call of rough riding that took the win away when he got into the back of Todd Zadie, who was just trying to break up the rhythm. That was a good race, and again, Woody Pitkat. So should be interesting. Should be interesting to see how it turns out. As right now in this Whelen Southern Modified Tour, they were in Charlotte for the race weekend. George Brunhustle III was the winner with Ryan Priest second. Danny Bond was third. Jason Myers fourth. Burt Myers fifth. Andy Seiss sixth. Jeremy Gertzner seventh. John Smith was eighth. Bobby Meismer Jr. ninth. And Dalton Baldwin rounded out the top 10. The way the points finished out there was another close battle. It could have won, and one of four guys could have won this championship, but Andy Seiss ended up with the championship, edging Georgie Brunhustle III by 3 points, with Jason Myers 8 points back, Burt Myers 9 points back, with Kyle Ebersol fifth in points. He was 22 back. Then we're followed by Frank Fleming, Mesmer, Gary Putnam, Gerstner, and David Calabrese. So it should be a good off season for Andy Seiss, taking down that championship. And with George Brunhustle III missing it by 3 points in the course of a race season, missing the championship by 3 points. All he had to do is, in any given race the whole season, is pass 2 cars, and he would have had the championship by 1. But anyway, it was a good finish. Good finish. The Camping World Truck Series is off this week. They will be at Talladega. They'll be the next event. Right now, Eric Jones is the point leader, followed by Matt Craftskin. Tyler Reddick is third in points. Johnny Sauter fourth. Daniel Horrell is fifth. Timothy Peters sixth. Cameron Haley seventh. John West Townley ninth. Ben Kennedy ninth. And yes, Calabrese is 10th in points. Sorry about that, folks. The Xfinity Series was at Charlotte. Austin Dillon was the winner, followed by Earl Jones. Brad Keselowski was third. Daniel Suarez fourth. Reagan Smith fifth. Ty Dillon sixth. Chris Buescher seventh. Darrell Wallace Jr. eighth. Chase Elliott ninth. And rounding out the top 10, Elliott Sadler. The way their points are looking right now, Chris Buescher was the point leader. Chase Elliott 26 back. Reagan Smith 34 back in third. Ty Dillon is fourth, 38 back. And then the following guys don't have a shot at the championship, but they need to hold on to the top 10. That would be Darrell Wallace Jr. is fifth in points. Elliott Sadler sixth. Daniel Suarez seventh. Brandon Scott eighth. Brendan Gaughan ninth. And Ryan Rose is rounding out the top 10 there. The Xfinity Series, I'm sorry, that wasn't the Xfinity Series. The Cup Series was in Charlotte. Joey Logano in taking down the rain postponed run on Sunday deal. Joey Logano was the winner. Kevin Harvick was second. Martin Truex Jr. third. Denny Hamlin fourth. Kurt Busch was fifth. Carl Edwards sixth. Austin Dillon seventh. Jeff Gordon eighth. Brad Keselowski ninth. And Aric Almirola rounding out the top 10. And trust me, Aric Almirola and Richard Petty Motorsports will be a force to reckon with in 2016. Matt Kenseth was on the pole. However, he finished a dismal 42nd in points after a mid-race accident. The way the Cup points now is we're going into the final stages of the chase is Joey Logano is the point leader with Kevin Harvick 6th behind. Martin Truex Jr. 7 points behind. Denny Hamlin is 8 behind. Kurt Busch is 9 points behind, followed by Carl Edwards in 6th. He's 9 behind. Jeff Gordon 11 behind. Brad Keselowski 13 behind, as is Ryan Newman and Kyle Busch. Joey Logano with that win locks him into the next phase, I believe, is the eliminator round with his Charlotte win. Remember, it's win will be in the top 8 in points in the next round, so that is all good. Again, looking forward to this chase. Now, I'll tell you what, and I was talking to some, I'm going to say casual fans about the last couple of races and the TV coverage. And in my opinion, and I watch these races when I can, and I'm not one that I don't go record them, I go sit and watch them at a later date, but I flick channels. And it seems like the announcers are focusing on the chase people. And, you know, to sit there and you're watching the race and you're back, you're sitting on your couch, you recline, whatever, and they go, and then battling for 34th is Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's a chase contender. All right, he's in 34th. Yeah, he's a chase contender. I don't need to hear about that. I want to know what's going on up front because it's still about winning races. And that's one of the things that the chase has taken away. It's you need to win races, but now we're in the chase, and what TV is focusing on is the guys in the chase only. There's 30-odd number of guys, other drivers still out there trying to make points, trying to get in a position, whether it's trying to make the top 20, the top 15, or whatever. But let's not forget those guys. TV is starting to forget, these guys. And, even in playoff sports, because this is basically in playoffs for stock car racing, in playoff sports, the teams that are out of it, they don't play anymore. But saying that's where NASCAR is a little different, because the teams that are out of it are still fighting for positions. Let's not forget those guys, because those are the guys, without those guys, come on, what would you have? What would you have? And you need to do that. You need to work with these guys and the teams, even the guys and gals that are not in the chase. I'm sure there's a storyline. There's 4 hours of coverage on most of these Sprint Cup Series races. I'm sure in that 4 hours, with maybe another 15 minutes every hour for commercials, so in that 3 hours of coverage, I'm sure they can come up with something. And like somebody just said, Jay Slice, it's like only 12 cars are on the track. There you go. There you go. And yeah, 22 big race, man. When when the races were on ESPN, Bob Jenkins, Larry Nuber, those guys were grassroots guys. They came from here. They came from there, and they talked racing and they knew racing. And I'm not saying the announcers they have don't. Some of them are former drivers, and some of the former drivers, in my opinion, are good announcers, and some of the former drivers are not. All right? But, that's just the way it is in any sport, where you take a former competitor and make him an announcer. You have it in baseball, you have it in football, you have it in hockey, you have it in all basketball, all professional sports. You take a retired driver, or in racing, you're never really retired, you're still looking for that good ride. But when they go and they go into the booth, I don't mind the old stories mixed in. If I was an announcer, I'd probably be throwing my old stories in too. But some of them, they're not talking about the racing at all. They're talking about the old days, back when they ran. And I'm guilty of that too myself, but I'm not announcing to millions of people a race that has 43 race cars on it, or 36, or whatever the case is, depending on the series. Let's stay focused on the teams that are on the racetrack. Yeah, throw that story once in a while, because you're going to have a long green flag one where it's a parade with no music, and they're just bumper to bumper. There's no side-by-side. Because think about it. When you watch, and you guys and gals in the chat room, when you watch a race, in the beginning, when you're side-by-side, yeah, people are jockeying, they're trying to get their spot, and 20 laps into that event, it's a freight train. Like I say, a parade with no music. And there's no passing, and they're just kind of hanging out. And maybe somebody's engine's getting a little hot, so he backs off a little bit, and he goes out to the outside to get some air. But then they have their round of pit stops, and again, so there's a caution. You got your side-by-side, so there's racing for maybe 5-10 laps, and you're back to single file. And in my opinion, what can we do to change that? Because, my mother always told me, if you're not part of the problem, part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So here's my suggestion to that. Get these restrictor plates off, take the aero package out, and put the driving back in the seat and back in the steering wheel. You'll see some good racing. You'll see some guys that have to go half throttle down the straightaways because they don't want to drive over people. But when they need to pass, the pedal's to the metal and they're going. They're going. That old slingshot move that was made legendary by Petty and those guys back in the late 60s, the slingshot. Get on their nose, shoot out, and go. You can't do that with restrictor plate racing because you're flat-footed around basically the whole racetrack, other than a Martinsville or a Bristol. The 1.5 miles, the 2 miles, the 2.5 miles, the 2.66 mile Talladega, you're basically flat-footed around the racetrack. And that's one of the things. So it's in my opinion. That's what would make it a lot better. So anyway, I think we need to wrap up here. So I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to watch and listen and participate in our show tonight. And when I say our show, it's mine and yours. And we got some stuff going on at the Thompson Motorsports Park. We have some stuff going on in Mahoney Valley. I believe the Cup guys are going to Kansas. So wherever your endeavors are going to take you this weekend, even during the week, be safe, have fun, tell somebody you love them, give them a hug. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.